This is interview 279. So we continue to the quest, the search for people that are doing awesomely well. Now the new one is Awesome Sauce behind the chair. And this afternoon is no different. My good friend Katie Vargo. Katie's actually come to my house a few years ago with Steve and Jerry Good and the leadership team. And it's just great to have her on the show today. She is one of a handful of people I'm starting to spend a lot more time with and study closely. I'm going to call her the planner queen. She really is the planner queen on steroids, uses that planner religiously. And as a result, she's booking to put a lot of power dollars on the book. And she is, in fact, a Jedi. Balaza Avante Spa Salon in Wadsworth, Ohio is where she's from. And let me tell you why I invited her to come. First of all, she is a level 6, which that she's now creating associates that are on the floor to be Jedis. And 30-something, her average ticket's 125, and her haircut price is at 56. So that's like a 2.53 ratio. Tells us that she is doing a lot of services that go well beyond her core service. Average day is 8, but there's a rhythm that she's built where 1,000, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Her biggest day, 17, I think it's 1,700 and some change, right? So she hit that. Doing 4 to 6 referrals a month, rebooking at just under 85%, and her RTS is 16. So to say that she's blowing it up is an understatement. She's going to tell us about her story, her journey. But in a nutshell, she graduates from high school in 01, hair school in 04, starts at Balaza Avante in 04. I think I was asking her, when was your first $1,000 day? I think she said somewhere around 2013, 14. I'll let her share that with you. Started the associate program in 05, and she's trending to do 100,000 here in a W-2 in 2021. So she is, to say that she's blowing it up would be an understatement. If you want to follow her, which I do, I would, her Instagram handle is Katie Vargo Hair. And I love how she continues to push the envelope on using Instagram to brand herself. So she's in my green room. I'm going to bring her on and get her talking about her story. And then I'm going to start asking her some new questions around, I'm trying to get blueprints of, I'm going to call them 4-figure service dollar days. 1,000, 11, 1,200, because 80% of the people behind the chair in salons, especially Summit salons, have yet to have their first $1,000 day. So this is the first of a brand new conversation that I'm looking forward to having. So I'm going to go and get her, and then we'll get her talking about her story, and then we'll get her talking about the secret sauce. There she is now, and you're going to make her feel nice and welcome by giving her a round of applause. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for giving us a few minutes this afternoon of your time. I know you got some stuff going on in your life right now. I'm eager to get to your 4-figure days because it's a new conversation. But before we do, I always like to get started with the story, because the story helps us to kind of get to an appreciation of you. So who are you? And the biggie is, what was your life like before you kind of had that infamous OMG that got you going towards $800, $900 days, 1,000, 15, especially now your $1,700 day. Catch us up to what your life was like before you did that.
Okay. So when I started at Balaza, it was 2004. And I mean, we were a much smaller salon company, very small building, very hidden. So there was no social media, nothing like that. I mean, we really had to hit the streets to get some business, and I'd always been really good with my junk journal and tracking and stuff. But it was just hard. There wasn't as many services to offer back then. I feel like now, just doing hair, there's just so much more like elevation with services to offer. You know, bonder wasn't a thing. People weren't really doing overlays. So, definitely living like paycheck to paycheck or less. I remember talking to Jerry once and saying that my friend that worked somewhere else, like she had $1,000 day or week. Actually, it wasn't even a day, it was a week. And I was like, I'm never going to do that. Like $1,000 week seemed so far. So, that's pretty much what it was like, working hard, working like 40 hours a week for less.
You said a mouthful there. I want to unpack a couple key things you said. There was a time where there wasn't really a lot of social media, so you used it. We had to hit the street, which was a different way of kind of building. What would be, because there's a lot of people now, as you know, Katie, that are behind the chair that weren't behind the chair prior to social. And so what do you mean by hitting the street? Give me just one example. I'm curious. What did you have to do then that you don't have to do as much now?
We used to make like gift bags and put like our referral coupons in it and the salon menu and maybe some like foil samples and go to different businesses and just introduce ourselves around town.
Wow. So that kind of went away because now the effort, the money, the energy you put on that kind of, and you now put that on Instagram to brand yourself. Do you get a lot more bang on the Instagram energy than you used to, passing out grab bags?
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes, you'd get lucky and you'd get somebody, but, with Instagram, I've noticed a lot of people are calling the salon now when they are booking, even if it's not for a specific service provider, when they tell them who they're going to be with, they'll always ask for like their social media handles because they kind of want to look and see what you're up to before they come in. Yeah. So that helps too. Yeah. Plus I can tag my clients and get, my work out there after I do it quickly.
Oh yeah. I bet, if you really do the math, somebody that's 23, 24 wasn't in the business in 2016 or 17. Never mind, when you got in, I'll call it the first decade of this millennium. So, and there's been so much growth. So people kind of take that for granted. I'm really glad I asked you that question because that's a biggie that you don't, in the good old days, I don't know that they were good, but the old days, you had to go out and hand out stuff. And if you were lucky, you got one client and you had to hand out, 20, 30, 40 bags of stuff to get one client. Now it's putting some content on your Instagram page and boom, lightning strikes. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Well, I want to ask you another question because when you and I were chatting, you were saying there was a time before, you kind of had the OMG where, you're making a living, but it really is a paycheck to paycheck ride. And now, the big aha happened, but there's always something that wakes us up. I call it, what happened to wake us up? What was your happening?
Really, I had my daughter in 2013, and that was a big change for me. Throughout my 20s and, starting my business the first 8 or 9 years, and I was single, lived alone for the most part. And, I just kind of did whatever I wanted whenever and didn't save much and didn't think ahead too far. So definitely, getting together with my husband and then having our first daughter and buying a house, all that made a big difference.
Right. It's just amazing. As we start to get a life, there is an obligation that comes with life as our life grows. And all of a sudden, what used to look like a job starts looking like a career. We're in need of opportunity. So I think that's a classic what happened to you. Now, you fast forward, that was several years ago. And I asked you before the show when, as you started kind of like taking your livelihood from job to career and you went to the next level, what year did that happen when all of a sudden you had your first $1,000 day? You told me the year, but I want you to tell the community.
Yeah, so it was probably, I think in 2013 when I was pregnant with my daughter, I did. And then after I had her, I came back a little slower, and I didn't train associates for a while because I knew I wanted to have another kid soon. So then once I came back from having him in 2016, it's just been like hitting the ground running and utilizing my associate properly and just like full steam ahead.
Yeah, I'm loving this conversation because you really don't, we're not conscious enough to even know what we're doing a day, never mind when we have our first, we go from 3 figures. There's a big difference between 900's is a 9 with 2 zeros, 1,000 is a 1 with 3 zeros. So we're not even conscious of that, and you hit it. So before we get into that though, fast forward, it's been, you do the math, 2014, that's like 7-8 years ago. How has this pivot changed your life? How's this changed you in your life, and how has it changed your standard of living and your lifestyle?
I mean, it's just so much better. It's like if we want to go do something or, have something for our kids or whatever, we can just do that. We don't, I paid so much debt off. I don't have any of that hanging over my head. I don't have a car payment. I mean, I pushed my student loans off all through my 20s, just put them in deferment because I don't know, I wasn't very responsible, but getting rid of so much of that and just being able to kind of like live free without having that constant, like, hitting the ignore button when like a 800 number calls hanging over your head. It's nice to be able to like just actually answer it because it's probably like a car warranty, not a bill collector.
I love, oh my God, I love it. And, I was looking at the history every year since 2016, you've had, like in 16, you paid off almost 20,000 in debt just in 16. And in 2017, it went down to another 17, in 18, 23, and at the same time, you started saving. And all that happened, looks like it was in or around 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Like you were saying, before that, first of all, calls from creditors for late payments was kind of norm or a rhythm, and you'd have to look at your phone to see if you're going to ignore it or not, kind of hiding out from it and whatever. And you're saying all that went away.
Yeah, it is. And, it just is so much more stress-free, and you can go to work and just have more fun because you just don't have so much hanging over you. And it really translates to me being a better stylist because I just go in definitely with like my client and my associate on my mind, not the other stuff.
Yeah. Now you said you had had your first $1,000 day in or around 13, 14. And then you said, and then it took a while to repeat it. So talk about that part. Like you had hit it first time, and then you said it took a while to hit it a second time and a third time. Like when you say a while, what are we talking about? A month, a year? What?
Well, I was pregnant with Cora. So when I went on maternity leave, like I said, I came back, like that was in May that I had my $1,000 day. I think I came back in like October, November of that year. And then I didn't have an associate. So it was probably at least another year later.
When did $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 days start to become kind of a trend, a tendency, a habit? What year was that?
Probably the last like 3 to 4 years.
So it went from
to where like it was happening more frequently, and then now it's pretty regular.
And you said, as you and I were, by the way, gang, we were having a very interesting conversation prior to coming actually live. And you said something to me that caused me to take pause. You said, when my $1,000 days started becoming more than we'll call it a luck of the draw, all of a sudden your first, $10,000 month. So there was there was a connection between when you started hitting more $1,000 a day plus $1,100, $1,200. All of a sudden, shortly thereafter, you go from what I'm going to call a 4-figure month. I mean, 9,000 is a 9 with 3 zeros. 10,000 is a 1 with 4 zeros. And then,
Yeah.
so you're saying that those two things, when 1,000 started becoming a trend, 10,000 was your newest break point.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I asked you the question, like, what caused that? Like what because people want to know things like, okay, so how do you book yourself? What's the booking difference between, how you manage your book for 1,000 versus 800 or 900? And there might be something in that, but you said you were using something else frequently that helped you. What was that?
Yeah, so using my social digital planners really helped. And about a year ago, I started doing, because I used to just book people where it would be like if they were getting a color and cut, even if I knew they were going to get highlights too or an overlay, I wouldn't necessarily put that service on the schedule. I would just know in my head. So I started putting every service that I know they're getting down on my actual schedule at work, so that when I look at the forecast, that's a true forecast for what I'm going to do that day. And then it helped me think outside the box for other add-ons and stuff. So using my planner, as well as like thoroughly putting all the appointments that I know people are getting on the book, instead of just like, the shell of like a haircut and color. If they're getting bonder, that's on the schedule already, things like that.
So this is big. I mean, what you're giving us is one or two really solid golden nuggets. So the idea that it sounds like there once upon a time I wasn't using a planner. Then I started using the planner, but the longer that I used my planner, I started like putting everything down, so I knew exactly what my day was. But it sounds even different. I knew exactly where my openings were. Like if I had a 15-minute window between now and then, that I wasn't conscious of that. Then the other day I heard somebody say something that blew my mind. She said the difference between an add-on and an upsell. So an add-on is basically a service that I can lay on top of another service, but I don't need to concern myself with needing more time. Where an upsell is, yeah, I'm laying this service, but I need another 10, 15 minutes. You really can't tell that unless you're putting everything down exactly where it was. And it sounds like you were using the planner for a while before you added that piece.
Yeah, so I've always, been pretty good about my planner, but like I said, like if I know that somebody's getting a haircut and maybe, some facial waxing, I wouldn't necessarily put the waxing on my actual schedule. I would just know and keep it 45 minutes. So now I actually shorten their haircut to 15 and have like 15 for a lip, 15 for a brow. So when I look at my forecast for the day, the dollar amount on the computer is actually true. And then I can see, what other things they might need and offer, instead of, I feel like it used to be when I wouldn't put everything down, it would be like, in my head, I'm trying to remember like, oh, they need waxing, should I offer them an acidic bonding treatment or not? But once it's all on the schedule, it's like, those aren't add-ons that you have to offer. They're things that they're getting. So it's already taken off the table. It's a done deal. And then you can think about other things.
I mean, you could see your interview 279. So I have had the opportunity to interview 278 people before I showed up today to interview you. And I got to tell you, we have never gotten this specific about. It's one thing to go, yeah, I use my planner all the time now, but you're going, well, yes, but as I'm looking at how long I've used it, there's more specificity. Like I list everything, and there's something about that tells me, okay, I know exactly what add-ons I can talk about that don't require more time. I just kind of lay them over a pre-existing. I couldn't do that if I wasn't listing everything down. And then when there is a window, I know that, whoa, on top of that, I can do an upsell. I can do a service that actually requires more time. And you're saying that's a major difference maker in how you book yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I look, at my forecast value a lot on the computer. So like at the beginning of the month, once I started putting every service that I knew they were really getting down, and I would look at my forecast, then it would be like, a lot closer to 10 rather than like 8,000 a month if I didn't put all those smaller services down that they were getting. And then it was like, okay, well, if I'm actually already having, $10,000 down, well, I want to shoot for 11. So then I can offer partials and 10 packs and things like that when I have the time to. And that's made a huge difference because sometimes it seems like, those benchmark goals are so far off. But if you're not actually like booking and scheduling yourself right, the dollar amount looks a lot lower than what it actually is. So when you put those down, it just seems so much more achievable. And I feel like that's really helped me to, this year, like one of the goals I set for myself was to make every single month over 10,000. And I've done that so far. So that's been really exciting. But I know that booking this way has definitely like made a difference and catapulted and like helped me have a clearer vision on how to do that.
So you're saying also, I mean, you're tutoring me as we're going through this. It even counts what you have in the appointment book itself. And Balaza, are you on? What's your point of sale system do you use now?
Envision.
All right, so you're saying there was a time where I could see my forecast, but I knew in my head that there were other services that these clients were down for, but for whatever reasons, I didn't have them. I started putting everything on Envision, the point of sale, so I knew exactly, and I could see how far I was from 10,000. So where if you don't, you really can't. It's like you're kind of shooting from the hip. You're kind of figuring it out as you're doing it. So that made a big difference.
Oh yeah, huge. And that's what I've noticed is it's like once I started putting them on the actual schedule, not only can I see my forecast and it's a lot higher, but that's a true number. So, I used to think like, okay, say somebody gets acidic bonding treatment every time, and I have 10 people that do that, that week or that day or whatever. That's $200 that if I don't put it on the computer, it doesn't show up in my forecast. So then it's like, you kind of consider it an add-on in your head, I guess, but it's really not because they get it every time. So I just noticed that when I put it down, if I know that somebody's getting it, it's really helped my forecast to go up. And then I realized how much closer I am to, personal goals I've set for myself. And it's made me offer, different things than just what they always get.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So you also said something that once you set a goal that I want to make sure that every single month my minimum base is $10,000, and this year you have not had a month that was less than 10. I know your biggest day was $1,700 and some change. Okay, we'll just right. What's been your biggest month this year?
I think it was like 13,500.
Wow. So, I'm doing the math. 13,500, subtract 10 grand from that. That's $3,500 more than your base. That's a 35% increase from your, let's call it, average month. So setting a minimum monthly goal has jolted you to it's jolted you to a $13,500 a month and a best yet day of $1,700.
Yeah.
So all of these little, seemingly small little iterations or new pieces that you've put on, whether we're talking about your planner, your forecasting on your appointment book, those little things make a huge difference in you growing your book. And now you're going to do trending to do $100,000 W-2 this year, and that I think that's like a $30,000 increase. What was your W-2? 70 grand, 75, something like that?
Yeah.
Wow. What's that like? Because I'm going, okay, so it looks like your family is enjoying a life that's $400 to $500 more per week in income than this time last year. How has that changed? Let's call it the quality of your family life.
I mean, it's been great. We've, we are going to Disney on Black Friday, so we have that coming up. We recently got our kitchen redone, and, it's like we can just do little things when we want to and just not have the stresses of, having to plan a year in advance for something that might be like a smaller trip or something like that,
Right.
just having less worry and just.
But
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Feels good.
I'm listening to you, looking at you, and you've stepped up. We'll call it your social economic standard of living. I mean, it sounds like it's taken a marked increase, big increase. So that and you're saying I don't have issues with credit issues. I don't have debt issues. All that now is in the rear view mirror. And there's something about, I think there's an esteem and a self-worth knowing that, okay, I'm going, myself and my family are going in the right direction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I only work 4 days a week. So, that's pretty amazing.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? So who's Dane Vargo?
That's my husband.
So your hubby is watching you. What's he in the car with the kids or something?
He's got one of them. I don't know where they went, and the dog.
I love it. And Shelly's on, and she's saying that your what you're doing motivates her. So you're getting a lot of love from your peeps. I want to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to let you get back to your family. This has been a very, very interesting conversation. People watching now. Watching, listening, looking, they're relating, they're identifying, but they've yet to have their first $1,000 day. Maybe they've yet to use the journal, period. Or maybe they've been using it, but it's been kind of a haphazard way. Maybe they're using their appointment book, their digital appointment book, their forecast. Maybe they're not. They're listening to the distinctions that you're putting on, and they're seeing where you're at. They're not anywhere close, and they're asking themselves this question: if I decided to kind of like make that pivot, like Katie did, would what happened to Katie happen to me? So I call them, they're at the holy jumping off place. What might you say to them to give them a nudge so that they really take the jump and start flying?
I would definitely start putting, anything services that your clients are getting on the schedule, because that for me makes a huge difference. And keep watching your totals. Almost every day of the month, I'll come in and I'll see how much I've done for the month. I'll look at my forecast for the rest of the month, add that up. And using the journal definitely helps, because, then you can see, especially if you work with an associate, what services they can offer. And, it just staying consistent with that. It's like, really, if you just do that for like 3 to 4 months, you'll for sure see a difference.
Two things. One, promise me you'll come back for an encore, because I have a feeling that the next year is going to be a big year for you. And then number two, I'd just be curious. I haven't said this to anybody yet. I'm going to say it to you, say it live. I'm actually working on a digital planner, so that your planner is on your mobile device, so that you no longer have to do as much of this. You can you're doing this, but you're doing it by pointing and clicking and moving. What if you had a tool like that did everything, gave you everything you needed, but it didn't take as much rigor to see? Is that something that would be compelling to you?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome sauce. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you get back to your life. Thank you very much for hanging out. This was a great tutorial. This is a great conversation. I'm going to spend a minute or two just kind of summarizing to people what I heard, but I'm going to let you get back to your family. So thanks a lot, Katie Vargo, and I look forward to having you back for an encore.
Thanks for having me, Michael. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Let's give it up for Katie Vargo one more time. You guys. Bye, Kate.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We'll see ya.
Bye, America.
All right, that was I love that. I loved the I love that conversation. I don't know about you, gang, but I learned a lot. First of all, think about how much we take for granted. So there's a lot of people in the Summit community that once upon a time used the journal, the planner, don't now. A whole bunch more people that use it, but don't use it with the specificity that Katie said she uses it now. Once upon a time, Katie didn't use the planner. Then she used the planner, but she didn't use it with as specific as she used it now. So what I got from her is, to the degree that I'm specific, I saw my day go from 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200, 1,400. Her biggest day was 1,700 and some change, right? So I heard that. I also heard her say, I'm way more conscious as to how I enter clients into the appointment book. They're on the Envision platform. Now, many of you are on Envision. Some of you are on the Mevo 2 platform. Some of you are on the Forest platform. Some of you are on Boulevard. I mean, it goes on and on. So to me, it's not about what platform you're on, but are you putting everything in that, to the degree that you're specific? What I heard her tell me was, I can now see where my opportunities to add on are. And add on means I can lay another service over a pre-existing. I don't need the time to do that, but unless I can see what's on there now, I can't get as intentional. I heard that. And then, of course, the little mini windows of time in between one client or another, that's not an add-on opportunity. That's an upsell. This service requires more time, and of course it has greater value. So I heard her say that. The other thing I heard her say was, and she's one of the people that got into the game in the first decade of the millennium, 2005-ish, 2006, up until about 2015. Social media was not nearly what it was. And then she said, how did she put it? We had to hit the streets. And what that meant is that, put a whole bunch of stuff in a grab bag, free samples and cards, and then go around the neighborhood canvassing and handing them out to people. And then she said, but in those days, you had to hand out a whole bunch to get one client. With Instagram, you create some content, document it, put it on, do some things on your caption, that, and get 2, 3, 4 clients. That is a lot less effort. And now it really does seem archaic that people would, fill up little goodie bags and go and hand them out. And yet, there are people that still do that. Not putting it down. I'm saying she found another way. So this was just an extraordinary, 20, 25 minutes that she had. So I want to give it up for her one more time. You're watching, Michael Cole Millionaire on Facebook right now. So this interview will live on that page for a little while. We're going to edit it, clean it up. We'll even, we'll repost it so that it'll cut to the chase quicker. But also that on my Instagram, Michael Cole Millionaire Instagram, we will take and cook down a 5, 6, 7 minute micro learning and put it on Michael Cole Millionaire Stylist IGTV channel so that you can watch, like the highlights of it. So watch out for that as well. Also, we've put some brand new gamified, simple, safe, fun millionaire calculators on the Michael Cole Millionaire Instagram page. When you get there, if you hit my link tree, you'll get a drop down that second rectangle, all behind the chair, Millionaire Kelks, you'll get the Dream Machine, the Golden Goose, the Debt Free. Katie, once upon a time, had to look at her mobile to see who was calling to hit, just leave a recording. That all that went away. There are no more collectors that are chasing her, and large in part because she learned a way of life that helped her to kind of clean that up. We now have calculators. They're simple, a calculator, fun calculators that'll help you do that, and they're complements of L'Oreal Salon Emotion, so which means at no charge to you. So please, please, please take advantage of them. I'm putting more and more of my production value courses, online courses, on SummitSalon365.com. I have one, actually have two courses on there now. We're about to put a third one on that, just extraordinary content. So go on that.com and just kind of take a peek. There's a subscription rate if you're a salon. People can watch it all the time. So take advantage of that opportunity as well. The overwhelming majority of our 100 coaches, now the Summit now has about 100 coaches. The overwhelming majority of that is happening online coaching. So we're moving out of the requirements of so many, airplanes for a coach to jump on or cars to drive. There's still a lot of that going on, but the frequency it's once or twice a month, and we're doing way more Zoom coaching. So if you're new to us, coaching has never been, first of all, so important, and secondly, so convenient. So schedule a 30-minute complimentary online virtual coaching session and get involved in that as well. Last but not least, I always like to end all our conversations by saying that Summit Salon Business Center is an exclusive business partner of L'Oreal Professional, which means that we are powered by L'Oreal. Here are L'Oreal's brands: Biolage, Pulp Riot, Kerastase, Pureology, L'Oreal Professional, Redken, Matrix, Shu, Mazzani. So to the degree that you are loyal to these brands, both you and you get your clients on these brands, L'Oreal is in a position, a greater position, has the readiness to, they've become almost our grant, they're the grant foundation. So there's a lot of the money, their financial contributions are fuel for us to bring you content like this, compliments them. So it's all good. It's for the good of all and the harm of none. I always like to express our gratitude and ask you to support them in that way as well. So a great conversation. I'm going to let you get back to work. We'll be back on Thursday evening for, what is it? We're up to 280. So I'll look forward to seeing you then. So between now and then, have a great week.